Getting to call yourself a NASCAR Cup Series driver is a honorific title like no other in the United States. Whether your body of work up until this point is stout or not, you are at the top of American motorsports. It seems silly to us fans when a driver abruptly announces that they will leave the Cup Series to pursue a more competitive Xfinity or Truck Series ride, but it kind of makes sense. Would you rather be competitive in a series a lot of people generally don't watch, or be non-competitive in a series a lot of people watch? If you say yes to the prior, well then so do a lot of late model drivers, dirt drivers, etc. You might ask, what's the motive for what these guys do in short tracks that attract a 12th of what the Cup Series can muster? And that's just it. Better to be a local celebrity than a national embarrassment. So, here are 7 drivers who left their Cup Series aspirations on the back burner and made a name for themselves in the Trucks or Xfinity Series. Number 7. Daniel Hemric. Born in Kannapolis, North Carolina, Hemric began competing in go-kart racing at Concord Speedway at the age of 5. He won 11 races and a track championship. At 16, he moved to Legends Cars, winning the Legends Pro Championship, and in 2009, he won it again. By this time, he had nearly 60 wins in just under 80 starts, which started him on a trajectory to the Cup Series. From 2010 to 2012, he made sporadic Wheel and Southern modified starts, scoring a best finish of 3rd twice for Roger Hill. This caught the eye of Eddie Sharp and Bill Gallagher, who tapped him to make his Truck Series debut in 2013 in Martinsville. He finished 32nd with some early issues on the day. At Phoenix, he'd finished 13th. A year later, he'd best sat with the mid-pack NTS Motorsports team and finished 12th. Okay, so this guy's serviceable. Surely they'll tap him full-time in 2015, right? Correct. How did he do? He finished 7th in points. He pushed the envelope of what this mid-pack team could do, and his talent would be spotted by Brad Keselowski, who tapped him to drive the 19 for him full-time in 2016. He had a very consistent campaign across the board, making the playoffs and finishing 6th in points. While he didn't win, that was more than enough to catch Richard Childress Racing's attention for a potential Xfinity ride. At that time, they were in a bit of a pickle driver development-wise. Ty Dillon was, well, Ty Dillon, and no matter how mid-pack he was always going to get a 2nd or 3rd shot. Brennan Gaughan was getting older, and it was evident he was going to hang up his helmet soon, and Brandon Jones was decent at best. Hemric was going to have the tall task of giving this team a full-blown makeover. And well, he did. He made it all the way to the Championship 4, which was pretty substantial considering he was the only driver not part of JRM. He closed his 2017 season with 7 top 5s, 10 top 10s, and a pole. Okay, not bad. The next year, he shot out of the cannon, having the best car year-round. He had 16 top 5s and 23 top 10s, out of a 33-race schedule. That's ridiculous no matter what series you're talking about. With 4 poles and a 9.0 average finish, it's no wonder why he was the 2018 NASCAR Xfinity Series 3rd place finisher. Yeah, let's just say Tyler Reddick has one good track, and that happened to be the season finale for a while. Okay, well the man had the title stolen from him, but he's more or less cup ready. However, 2019 would coincidentally be the worst RCR year in recent memory. So, when Tyler Reddick won his 2nd title, you knew Hemric was going to be ousted. He wasn't even that bad. 25th in points with 1 top 5 and 2 top 10s is a solid start to say the least. But it's the Cup Series and time is of the essence. He spent 2020 riding around with JRM on a partial schedule, scoring 7 top 5s and 12 top 10s. It's safe to say this was a low point for Hemric. However, help came in the form of Joe Gibbs Racing, who signed him on board for 2021. 15 top 5s and 21 top 10s, as well as an average finish of 10.8 followed suit. Throughout the year, they just kind of played it conservatively. They had massive points days, but never walked home with a win. It was kind of agonizing to say the least, even if you weren't a fan of his. They sat around as the 3rd place driver, finagling their way into the Championship 4. By, well, not making any mistakes. They were rock solid. You see, Austin Cindric may have had the best car that year, but they had 4 DNFs to Hemric's 2. So when it came time for one last restart of the season finale, with Hemric in 2nd, he booted Cindric out of the way and scored his 1st win and 1st title all in one go. His current stint with Kaulig has been less than desirable, but he really put his career back together nonetheless. Brennan Gaughan. Well, we briefly mentioned Brennan Gaughan, so why don't we talk about him? After putting his off-road racing career aside, Gaughan pursued the asphalt version of that, the Truck Series. The Trucks was not intended to be part of the Cup Series development process, but to actually be an alternative to off-road racers who wanted to pursue pavement racing opportunities. One thing led to another, and after Gaughan nearly won the 2003 Truck Championship with Orleans Racing, he was tapped to drive in the Cup Series. I'm pretty sure he was the first guy to make such a leap, as many thought the Busch Series was the only route to get into Cup then. But Gaughan proved the concept effective, and others would follow suit throughout the decades. So how'd he do with Penske Jasper Racing? He'd finish 28th in points and have a fairly forgettable campaign. He went back to Orleans Racing from 2005 to 2007, attempting to rekindle some of that 2003 magic, but it just never happened again. He defected to circle bar racing and seemingly got worse. Rusty Wallace asked him to help out in his nationwide program from 2009 to 2010, but he was a 10th place driver at best on a given week. So he went back to trucks, this time driving for the defending champions heading into 2011, Germain Racing. He finished 12th in points. So by now, everyone knows him as a mid-pack driver whose competitive days are pretty much numbered, and he basically relegated himself to a journeyman driver. Literally. In 2012, he freelanced between Cup, Xfinity, and trucks, this time for Richard Childress Racing. He was basically their development driver at the time, and this was around the time when leeches began disappearing in Xfinity, and Cup teams were forced to hire actual prospects. Gaughan did well enough in their truck program to run full-time in 2013. He finished 7th in points with 10 top 5s and 13 top 10s. In 2014, he'd go back to Xfinity. Man, this is confusing. He's gone from trucks to Cup to trucks to Xfinity to trucks to Xfinity to Cup and back to trucks and up to Xfinity. Just pick a series and stick with it. Okay, few. He'll spend the rest of his full-time racing career in Xfinity. How do you do for them? In 2014, he collected 2 wins at Road America and Kentucky and finished 8th in points. After that year, he slowly trickled down into the midfield and retired from full-time racing. A few more seasons of plate racing with Beard Motorsports and Cup followed before he retired after 2020. Number 5. Regan Smith. The first time you probably heard of Regan Smith was at the 2008 Fall Talladega race. Smith was forced underneath the yellow line and crossed the start-finish line first. However, the win would go to Tony Stewart due to this technicality. Up until this point, Smith was a journeyman driver who bounced between several Xfinity and truck teams and waltzed into the Ginn Racing/DEI development system. He didn't seem like anybody special, and when they scored him 18th after that Talladega race, people forgot about him as soon as they remembered him. Barney Visser tapped him to drive for his Furniture Row Racing team in 2009, and he did respectable enough to garner a full-time seat in 2010. He finished 28th in points. Furniture Row was slowly but surely building something special, but it's a process and a painfully slow one at that. In 2011, he finished 26th in points, and the only bright spots were a win at Darlington and a third at Indy. In 2012, he continued to drive for them and didn't fare much better. After a top 5 at the Fall Talladega race, Hemric Motorsports tapped him to drive for their team, seeing no other available option. From here on out, he'll have a knack of being something of everyone's go-to for a replacement driver. No, really, it's basically the equivalent of you playing a NASCAR video game and getting a one-race opportunity to drive for a top-level team. He drove for the likes of Stewart-Haas and Ganassi, and even made his last Cup start subbing in for an ill Casey Kane. But just being a sub isn't going to get you anywhere. So what did he do? Well, I mentioned he raced for Hendrick for a bit, and this allowed him to get an opportunity with Junior Motorsports, the Xfinity development team to them, for a one-off at Homestead in 2012. And he would win. For the next 3 years, he would drive for JRM. In 2013, he'd finish 3rd in points behind the dominant Sam Hornish Jr. and consistent champion in Austin Dillon. In 2014, he'd be runner-up to his teammate Chase Elliott, and in 2015, he'd trail Elliott and Buescher, as well as the up-and-coming Ty Dillon. So what gives? He has the talent, but no one was brave enough to take the risk and hire him. Well, okay, he didn't have much sponsorship, but it's JRM. Surely they can find a fit for him for the long haul. After 2015, he was booted in favor of Justin Allgaier for this very reason. He could have been an Xfinity champion, but I guess we'll never know. Number 4. John Hunter Nemechek. Son of Joe Nemechek, you knew John Hunter was going to get involved in racing as soon as he was able to strap behind the seat of a four-wheeled vehicle and reach the wheel. His biggest help in racing was his dad, and for the longest time, he drove for his father's team, Nemechek Racing. They struggled horrendously in Cup. So, I guess Nemechek will quietly seep into NASCAR nothingness and maybe start and park here and there. Wait, he won a race? Not only that, but they scored 9 top 5s and 10 top 10s in 2015, his second season of part-time competition. He would win 4 times for his father's team, full-time in 2016 and 2017, against all the odds. But his dad was struggling to keep the lights on with the organization, and after 2 years of full-time truck racing, Nemechek had to settle for a part-time schedule in 2018. He would catch the eye of Chip Ganassi, who kind of didn't know what to do with his Xfinity program. I mean, he literally took a chance on a JD Motorsports driver partway through the season. But Chip has an eye for talent. I mean, his team's mantra is that they like winners. And not only did that JD Motorsports driver win, but Nemechek would too at Kansas in the fall. He would be picked up by GMS Racing for 2019, and they'd be pretty good putting together a consistent campaign and finishing 7th in points despite not winning. However, GMS wanted to focus more on their Truck Series program, and 3/4 of the way through the season, they announced that they'd be shutting their Xfinity team down. Nemechek was left to dry and wither in the scorching hot money and talent pit of NASCAR. For months, he didn't know what his future held, until something catastrophic happened to Matt Tifft, who was running full-time for Fenway Motorsports and Cup. A seizure before Martinsville effectively numbered his racing days, and Matt Crafton was hired as a last-minute replacement. But for the rest of the season, Nemechek would sub in. He finished in the top 30 in all of his starts, keeping the car in one piece. This was enough to attract a full-time seat in the Cup Series for Front Row Motorsports in 2020. He was pretty terrible. He caused the most accidents in the field, and his only strength was the plate tracks, or rather Talladega, where he finished 8th, twice. Before both of these races, he finished 9th at the first Darlington race that year. But it was pretty apparent that this was going to be a long-term construction project for FRM. Kyle Busch saw what Nemechek did in underfunded truck equipment and said, if he can do that in bad equipment, how good will he be in good equipment? He presented the offer, and Nemechek bid. What would follow is a 5-win season, 12 top 5s and 16 top 10s in a 22-race season. If it wasn't for a late-season collapse, he very well could call himself a champion. So far, he's got the points lead, and things are looking good for year number 2 at the time of recording. He's also rumored to be the leading candidate for a certain Cup Series ride next year. Number 3, AJ Allmendinger. If I'd have told you in 2007 that AJ Allmendinger would be remotely competitive, you might have thought I'd hit my head one too many times. But it seems we all have because he's done stellar in the last couple of years. But let's backtrack a little bit. After a 5-win Champ Car season in 2006, which saw him finish 3rd in points, Allmendinger decided to leave the series citing poor marketing and lack of sponsorship. He wanted IndyCar to be unified and apolitical, and saw an opportunity to taste fresh, well this is racing so I guess clean, air NASCAR. He made 3 starts with Bill Davis Racing in 2006 and finished 5th at Talladega. He went all in for 2007, joining Red Bull Racing and Cup. Surely with all that money they'd be competitive, right? Holy Cadillac, 19 DNQs out of a 36-race season. Okay, talk about rough beginnings. In 2008, he DNQ'd in the first 3 races of the season, so the team pulled him out for 5 weeks. From week 9 at Bristol to week 29 at Kansas, he didn't DNQ once, and even scored 2 top 10s. The last of these was his last start with the team at Kansas. He quit, seeing how the team was going nowhere for the time being, and skipping Talladega, he finished 43rd for Michael Waltrip Racing. He finished off the year with Gillette Evernham Motorsports running in the teens. This is enough for Richard Petty to tap him to drive the 44 in 2009. And in the first race, he finished 3rd, playing a little bit of strategy. He didn't score another top 5, but scored 5 more top 10s, finishing 24th in the points. He moved over to the 43 car by season's end and improved greatly. And with the car full-time in 2010, he finished 19th in points. In 2011, he finished 15th in points, and had he been a bit more lucky, he might have made that year's chase. He turned out to be a consistent enough driver to attract the attention of Roger Penske, who tasked him to drive the number 22 car full-time in 2012. He had a salt and pepper season. Most weeks he just rode around in the middle of the pack, but he had flashes of brilliance, like at Martinsville where he nearly won. However, after Kentucky, it was revealed that Allmendinger unknowingly took drugs, thinking that he had taken energy pills. He came clean and was very forthright in the process. He took the Road to Recovery program, and even got to make some more starts with Phoenix Racing by year's end, who needed a guy after Kurt Busch left. Team Penske might have fired him in 2012, but because he was so honest, they made amends, and Penske gave him a chance at the road courses in their Xfinity team. In 2 starts, he won, well, twice. As for Cup, he drove for Phoenix Racing on a part-time schedule again, but he also drove part-time for another team, JTG Daugherty, a mid-pack team who was slowly but surely pivoting themselves to greatness. He finished 10th at Watkins Glen, and this was enough for him to be hired full-time in 2014. What followed suit was 1 win, 2 top 5s, and 5 top 10s, and a 13th place points finish. Never again was he able to relight the same wick that had ignited such a good year all around. After running in the 20s for the better part of the next few seasons, Allmendinger hung up his helmet and quietly retired. However, somewhere inside, he felt like he wasn't completely done, and hadn't thoroughly closed a chapter in his racing career. So when a certain Matt Colleague asked for some help in their Xfinity team, Allmendinger said yes. He won at Charlotte in 2019 and agreed to do a partial schedule for 2020. He won twice. He felt like he had a legitimate shot at the championship. So, in 2021, he agreed to do a full schedule and won 5 times. And if it weren't for some bad luck at Phoenix, he could have won the championship. Nonetheless, a 4th place points finish isn't bad. Oh, and I almost forgot about the fact Colleague had a cup program as well. Allmendinger helped sort their road course program out and even got a win out of it. It's safe to say he's hit his prime and isn't stopping anytime soon, as he has the points lead pretty secure in the NASCAR Xfinity Series right now. Number 2, Elliott Sadler. Sadler began racing in go-karts at the age of 7 and moved up to the late-model stock car division at the local racetrack. His accomplishments include over 200 total wins, the 1983 to 1984 Virginia State Karting Championship, and the North Carolina Gold Cup in 1991 to 1992. When he turned 18, he moved to the Advanced Auto Parts Weekly Series and ran full-time beginning in 1993. That same year, he achieved his first victory. In 1995, he was crowned track champion at South Boston Speedway, winning 13 races. Despite finding success in late model racing, Sadler was having a hard time catching the eye of NASCAR team owners. He sold all of his racing equipment to buy a Busch Series car, and ran some races as an independent in 1995 and early 1996. A race at Hickory Motor Speedway in early 1996 formed a connection between Sadler and Diamond Ridge Motorsports, the team he would drive for in late 1996 and all of 1997 and 1998 in the Busch Series. His 5 wins in the equipment would catch the attention of the Wood brothers, who hired him to drive the famed 21 car in 1999. His first year, he'd only score one top 10 at Texas and finish 24th in points. Somehow, he managed to get worse in 2000, finishing 29th in points. He still scored only one top 10, but improved his best finish from 10th to 7th at Bristol. 2001 would see the best year of his Wood brothers stint, scoring a win, 2 top 5s, and 2 top 10s, and finishing 20th in points. He scored 5 more top 10s in 2002, but was massively inconsistent, placing him 23rd at the end of the day. He hadn't really done anything to warrant staying with the team, so he moved to Robert Yates Racing in 2003. 4 years removed from a championship, they needed a torchbearer for the future, as Dale Jarrett was slowly but surely regressing. He scored 2 top 5s and 9 top 10s, and didn't fare too well in his first year, finishing 22nd in points. For 2004, they paired him with crew chief Todd Parrott, and boy did things improve. 2 wins, 8 top 5s, and 14 top 10s, making him eligible for the inaugural chase, where he'd finish 9th in points. People realized that Sadler could drive, and drive well if you put him in good equipment. He took a step down in 2005, finishing 13th in points, and halfway through 2006, he was fired by RYR. Ray Abraham needed a driver after he fired Jeremy Mayfield, so Sadler stepped up to the plate and joined the team. Another fresh start should turn things around. From 2006 to 2010, he scored 4 top 5s and 22 top 10s, only mustering a best points finish of 22nd. He was at a crossroads in his career. Do you keep staying a sub-25th place driver in Cup just for the sake of it being the Cup Series, or do you try and make a name for yourself in a series where, well, names are made? So in 2011, he joined Kevin Harvick Incorporated to help out in their Xfinity team and scored 12 top 5s and 24 top 10s. Had leeches not been as prevalent as they were then, he could have scored several wins. He would duke it out with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. for the championship, ultimately finishing 1 spot short of the Cup. KHI stole their stuff to Richard Childress Racing, so for 2012, Sadler would basically drive the same equipment, just under new ownership. Things didn't change and actually got better with him scoring 4 wins, 15 top 5s, and 24 top 10s, finishing second to, well, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. again. He spent 2 seasons at Joe Gibbs Racing, only squeaking out another win, and wandering through the back doors of the top 5. He was consistent, you gotta give him that, and he had a knack for just being a stable go-to option for any Xfinity team that just needed a guy who didn't tear up equipment and got the job done. He spent a season at Roush in 2015, though that ended up being his worst year in the Xfinity Series, finishing 6th in points. With Chase Elliott on the way out, JRM needed a replacement and lured Sadler to drive for them. It would turn out to be one of the best decisions he ever made. 3 wins in 2016, 14 top 5s, and 29 top 10s are easily championship caliber. But it's a one-race championship, so how'd he do in the one race that matters? Well, things got off rough as he lost his regular crew chief for the race in Kevin Meendering. He still qualified well enough to run up front the entire day. He crossed the line in 3rd, placing him 2nd in points. In 2017, he had the best car all season again, scoring 12 top 5s and 25 top 10s. But not only did he have the best car, he had the best team. And that ultimately bit him, as not only did he have a bit of a tussle with Ryan Preece at Homestead, but he lost to his teammate William Byron, finishing 2nd in points for the 4th time since 2011. I mean, come on, he's got to win the title, right? Wrong. In 2018, he'd go winless for the 2nd straight season, but still be as quiet and consistent as he ever was. After missing the championship 4, Sadler realized that his window of time to dominate and decimate the competition was over. He retired after the 2018 season, once written off as maybe even a bust in the Cup Series, now looked at as a perennial championship contender in Xfinity. Number 1. Justin Allgaier. Allgaier began his racing career at the age of 5 1/4 midgets, winning over 100 races and 5 championships. He began stock car racing at 13 in the UMP Late Model Series, where he competed for 3 seasons. At the age of 16, he made his debut in the ARCA Remax Series at the Illinois State Fairgrounds racetrack, driving the number 99 Chevrolet for Ken Schrader. He qualified 29th and finished 17th. Allgaier ran additional ARCA races in 2003, making 6 starts in the number 86 owned by his father Mike. He had a 6th place finish in his 2nd start at Toledo Speedway, and later a best finish of 3rd at Salem. The next season, he made 5 starts and had a better finish of 2nd at Toledo. In 2005, Allgaier ran 7 races in ARCA, splitting time between cars owned by Hickson Motorsports and Bobby Gerhard Racing. He won his first career pole at Springfield, setting a new track record, and had 4 top 5 finishes. He also made his NASCAR debut in the Craftsman Truck Series, making 4 starts in the number 63 MB Motorsports Ford. He failed to make 5 races and did not finish higher than 26. That year, he appeared on the Discovery Channel program Driver X, which basically featured new talent for Jack Roush. In 2006, Allgaier made his first full-time run in ARCA, finishing 10th. He got his first career win at the Illinois State Fairgrounds racetrack, becoming the first Springfield area resident to win. He made 3 more truck races for MB and had a 21st place finish at Kansas Speedway. In 2007, he won his second career ARCA race at Salem and finished 4th in points. Allgaier returned for another full season in ARCA in 2008, driving for his family team once again. He won 6 races, including the final 3, and won the series championship by a slim margin. He broke Frank Kimmel's 8-year streak of winning the championship in that series. In 2009, Roger Penske tapped him to drive the 12 car, and he was seen as the future of that organization. Brad Keselowski really went to Hemric. It's possible Allgaier could have driven that too. Nonetheless, in 2009, he scored 3 top 5s and 12 top 10s, placing him 6th in the points. In 2010, he got his first win and proved that he was more than Cup ready by getting 8 top 5s and 20 top 10s. However, he'd have to wait a bit longer as he was sacked by Team Penske. He defected to Turner Scott Motorsports, a team that was fairly competitive. Any doubts that anyone had about the Illinois native were silenced as he finished 3rd in points with 6 top 5s and 17 top 10s, as well as a win in 2011. In 2012, he got 2 more top 10s, but only finished 6th. And in 2013, he got 6 top 5s and 16 top 10s, placing him 5th in points. He went winless, and he realized that it was now or never to make his Cup Series dreams come to fruition. He joined H. Scott Motorsports full-time in 2014, and let's just say this was the last team you would dream about being a part of. As you would expect, he was horrendous and finished 29th in points. The next season, he scored his 1 and only top 5 at Bristol in 2015. However, he finished 30th in points. He wasn't having fun in Cup, so he went back down to Xfinity, and what would transpire is the season that no one expected to come out of his stable. 13 top 5s and 27 top 10s, placing him 3rd. 2017 was basically the same song, just a different verse. He would win twice, but scored 3 less top 5s and 10 less top 10s. He still placed 3rd when all was said and done. Man, we really talked a lot about that 2017 Homestead finale. 2018 would see him get 5 wins, 17 top 5s, and 24 top 10s, but he fell off a cliff in the second half of the year and struggled during the playoffs, placing him 7th at the end of the day. In 2019, he'd only get 1 win, but there were 16 top 5s and the same number of top 10s as the previous year to smile about. Oh, and he also joined the Big 3 in the Championship 4, ultimately finishing 4th. In 2020, he'd see the best year of his Xfinity Series competition, at least points-wise, scoring 3 wins, 11 top 5s, and 19 top 10s. At Phoenix, he'd best Justin Haley and Chase Briscoe, but come up just short to Austin Cindric's title bid. Last year was a bit of a down year, only finishing 5th in points, and it sort of seems like he's leveled off as he's 5th in points so far this year. So, there you have it. 7 drivers who ended up turning their careers around and ended up finding a nice, humble abode in the NASCAR Xfinity Series or the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. What do you make of these drivers' careers? What do you think of these drivers right now? Let me know down in the comment section below. And until next time, this has been the news. I'll see ya.